I can only wonder what Dr. King would think of our present-day society. What would he think of these United States of America some 50 years after the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964? An act which prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin, and represented legislation for which he personally shed his own blood, sweat, and tears in order to promote its principles and advocate its passage. Now, y'all might as well say amen. If you do, I'll be through even quicker. Amen. So pray with me. What would Dr. King think of a nation that has created a holiday celebrating the birthday of a Southern Black Baptist preacher from Atlanta, GA? One of only 3 holidays honoring individual men for their contributions to this country. The other honorees being George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Christopher Columbus. What would he think of the opportunities now being afforded people of color, who were at one time relegated to sitting at the back of the bus, who were limited to working in factories in the North and farms in the South, but who now are allowed to achieve success, some becoming millionaires in areas other than sports and entertainment. In other words, a black man or woman can get rich without being a baller, or regardless of not being able to sing, dance, act, or tell a joke. Somebody ought to say amen.
Amen.
What would Dr. King think of a political climate that would permit the election of an African American to the highest office in the land? Not once, but twice. What indeed would he think of a land that historically oppressed and abused Negroes, now accepting a black man hailing from the state of Illinois as its chief executive officer? Perhaps Dr. King would declare that we as a people have overcome and that America is a healthy nation. But I suspect, however, Dr. King would make a closer examination, and it would review the social climate, the political environment, the cultural atmosphere, and the general state of unrest in the land. He would conclude that the land is in need of some healing. Healing is needed. When African American males are 21 more times likely to be shot by police than whites. Healing is needed when George Zimmerman is acquitted for second-degree murder after fatally shooting an unarmed Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida. Healing is needed when Officer Darren Wilson is not indicted for shooting and killing an unarmed Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Healing is needed when a grand jury fails to indict Officer Daniel Pentelio for the death of Eric Garner after subduing him in an apparent chokehold. Healing is needed when local and state authorities rule the hanging death of a 17-year-old Lennon Lacy a suicide, when his body was found wearing sneakers that were not his and were 2 sizes too small. And when we who live in Bladen World know that he was involved with a 31-year-old white woman. Healing is needed when Jonathan Farrell, Kamani Gray, Kendrick McDade, Amadou Diallo, Sean Bell, Aaron Campbell, Wendell Allen, Oscar Grant, and hundreds of other young black men who, though unarmed, have been killed by police officers in the streets of this country. But not only that, healing is also needed when thousands of black youth are killed in our cities every year by other black youths. Yes, Mingle, healing is needed. And it is my contention this afternoon that the God we serve will indeed heal the land. If indicates that there are conditions for healing to occur.